Johannesburg Pikitup is threatening to sideline informal waste pickers. To analyse why it's such a bad idea, let's now welcome Melanie Samson, the Senior Lecturer of Human Geography at the Wits University. Melanie, a very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to The Full View.
Thanks so much for having me.
First of all, Melanie, let's talk about the role that informal waste pickers play in the city and everywhere.
Sure. So, informal reclaimers have been collecting recyclables for decades, long before the South African government became interested in introducing recycling across the country. And so they created this industry. They're the foundation of the industry. Without them, we wouldn't be seeing recyclables moving into the recycling value chain. Colleagues from CSIR have found that reclaimers collect 80 to 90% of the post-consumer or used packaging and paper in the country, and also that they save municipalities 748 million rand a year in airspace, and they're extending the lives of our landfills. So they're crucial to the waste management system and to the recycling economy.
Well, now the city wants so-called affluent households to pay a new 50 rand monthly recycling levy to extend the pilot. So what's your understanding of what this levy is for?
Sure. So first of all, calling households who own a home worth 350,000 rand affluent, I think, is really problematic. The pilot project that they want to expand, through that pilot, they contracted 2 private companies to collect recyclables that have been separated by residents. And that pilot has been quite disastrous. In the first year, the entire first year, those companies only collected just over 27,000 tons of recyclables. And reclaimers in Johannesburg collect 128 kilograms per day of recyclables. So it takes the 8,000 reclaimers in Johannesburg only 27 days to collect what those 2 private companies collected in an entire year. And the real difficulty, because the city wants to expand that private contract with private companies, that our studies of those pilots have shown that the reclaimers have been dispossessed, they've lost their jobs. So these pilots have led to job destruction, and fewer materials are being collected than if reclaimers were doing the separation at source themselves.
Yeah, and you lament that Pikitup's pilot has actually failed to collect significant amounts of recyclables, and you say that it has also been far from cost effective. Have you juxtaposed your research to the data given by Pikitup?
Sure. So according to data that Pikitup itself has, in the first year of that pilot project, the 2 companies collected 27,277 tons of recyclables. And in a pilot project we are doing in Brixton and Auckland Park, last year, reclaimers who were participating collected 128 kilograms of recyclables each day. So if you multiply that by 8,000 reclaimers in the city, you'll see that each and every day reclaimers are collecting more than 1,000 tons of recyclables. And as I mentioned, it takes them less than a month actually to collect what the private companies collected in an entire year.
So what are these unintended consequences of this, and what do you propose the solution to be? What do you propose the government should do in order to solve this abyss?
Sure. So the private companies are going in and they are collecting the recyclables that reclaimers have depended on for their livelihoods for years. So we've seen incomes of reclaimers drop by 1/3 to 50%. Because they have to beat the recycling trucks, they end up sleeping in parks near wealthy suburbs. And of course, residents get very unhappy about that. They don't want to be in those suburbs. But if they could have secure access to the recyclables, they wouldn't need to be there. And so it's called also really decrease the conditions of work of the reclaimers. In terms of what do we propose as an alternative, we already have a super successful Recycling with Reclaimers pilot project in Johannesburg, where reclaimers are working directly with residents. Residents separate the recyclables for the reclaimers, and it's a low carbon system. It's much more effective because reclaimers don't just take the separated bags, they go into the bins and they separate the recyclables that we middle class residents continue to put there. And then we need to be paying them a service fee, and it would be far more cost effective than the fees that they're already paying the private companies. But finally, the 2020 National Waste Management Strategy said that every metropolitan municipality in the country needs to implement waste picker integration this very year, 2021. There's nothing about that in the municipality's integrated development plan or in the Pikitup business plans. And so they need to halt this approach to recycling that leads to job destruction and dispossesses reclaimers. And they need to follow what they're required to do. They need to set up committees where they negotiate the approach to separation at source and reclaimer integration in the city with reclaimers, and we need to have a recycling system that builds on what already exists, which is the separation outside source system created by reclaimers who are the experts on recycling in the city and the country.
And how will Pikitup's position of sidelining these informal waste pickers affect them? Affect these pickers in terms of doing business with the recyclers?
Sure. As I've mentioned, the reclaimers are being disconnected from the value chain. So while we should be talking about how to strengthen and improve their connection with industry, what we're doing is we are removing them from that value chain and making them even more marginal than they're already seen to be. So it's going to lead to hunger. It's going to lead to job loss. Reclaimers aren't going to be able to send their kids to school. And what it will mean is more and more reclaimers, I think, sleeping in parks near wealthier suburbs because they're so desperate they have to do anything they can to get the materials.
All right, Melanie, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your analysis on this matter. That was Melanie Samson, a senior human geography lecturer at the Wits University, just commenting and reflecting on Johannesburg Pikitup's decision to sideline the informal waste pickers.